This episode of Fermented Adventure the Podcast is a collaboration episode with Alfonso and Erik of Cocktails and Spirits Podcast. We also speak about Valor Spirits. We had an amazing time talking bartending, spirits, tequila. Be sure to reach out to Alfonso and Erik of Cocktails and Spirits Podcast and let them know what you thought about this podcast. Cheers! Hello, ladies and gentlemen, craft spirit enthusiasts, and those interested in the intoxicating world of craft distilleries, cideries, meaderies, wineries, and the occasional foray into breweries. It's Rich Shane, and welcome to Fermented Adventure, the podcast, where we bring you the fascinating people that are making the mash, fermenting, distilling, bottling, pouring, and delivering to you some of the finest libations in the world. Before we get started, here are a few housekeeping items. Thank you for bringing the podcast into wherever you are and whatever you're doing. We truly are grateful that you have chosen to listen and make us part of your day. It would mean the world to us if you left a 5-star review. This helps us climb in the rankings, and it makes it easier for others to find us. Don't hesitate to leave us your comments as well. If the podcast didn't meet your expectations, tell us why. We're always striving to improve. You can find us at fermentedadventure.com. We are on Instagram and Facebook as Fermented Adventure. Email us at fermentedadventure@gmail.com. All right, FA Nation, let's meet our guests. I'm Rich Shane, and welcome to the Fermented Adventure Podcast, and I am joined by Alfonso and Erik, Cocktails and Spirits Podcast. Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Rich, thanks for having us on. We're excited.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be fun because while you're on Fermented Adventure, the podcast, I'm on Cocktails and Spirits Podcast, and we're going to do a joint thing. We have no idea where this is going to go, but we have tequila, and that's always a good thing to start out the night with. We met at Tales of the Cocktail, and like I said, there is so much going on with you guys. How did what you do get started? Because there's tequila, there's the podcast, there's cocktails, there's spirits. What's going on?
Man, I feel like sometimes we ask each other that. How do we end up here? And you see, I don't know if you see that shirt Erik is wearing. That's our company apparel company brand as well. So we do
got the threads. Go.
Yeah, we do a ton of things that keep us happy and are a great hobby, and we go for it. The way it started is I'm a bartender, and during 2021 I really wanted to expand what I know about bartending and started reading a lot about craft cocktails, and I needed people to try those cocktails on, and luckily
and I've always been passionate about drinking alcohol.
And luckily Erik and his girlfriend Christina were some great guinea pigs, and then that's how it started. We were just drinking a ton of cocktails, trying different recipes. One cool thing about Erik is he doesn't like sweet cocktails, so he was always a good judge that's not harsh and gave positive feedback and or what could make the cocktail better. From there, we moved on to tequila, and that just kind of expanded way more than we wanted it to, right, Erik?
Yeah. I mean, like just like everybody else, my experience with tequila wasn't all that great. Just your traditional market, stuff that's out there that's marketed. Knowing a little bit more about what good tequila is really about is what really was really captivating and just led us down this huge rabbit hole that has been opening doors, for us, on a daily basis. It's been amazing.
All right. So first of all, I love sweet cocktails. I love savory cocktails. Yeah. I am very disappointed I wasn't part of this big research project.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like this was a lot of fun just to understand, what cocktails, the mixing, the different variations on pours and ingredients. I don't want to just gloss over that from a standpoint that this still seems like something that you're really passionate about, Alfonso.
Yeah, well, and one thing is that I'm going back to it because I feel like when you do a lot of things, it's hard to do all of them well. So I kind of lost. I do feel like over the last 5 months, I let a little bit of the cocktails go, but I'm trying to come back to it because I realize it's what I like the most. For example, I'm making more recipes, and today, for example, at work, I'm trying to come up with a Halloween drink, which we have to do, and I made a Halloween drink that was the exact same. 3 of them were the same, but each one of them, I mean, had a different spec that was different, and they all tasted completely different. And then I get the opinion of, several coworkers, which one do you like better? What do you think of that one? And just the simple thing, oh, this one's too tart, too sweet. This one, it's balanced. So that's kind of what I was looking for. That's kind of what Erik and my wife Lucy helped me create the best cocktails. His girlfriend Christina helps my morale because she thinks everything is good. So she makes me feel good about every drink. And Erik and Lucy, my wife, which you met at Tales of the Cocktail, they give me good advice, good criticism. So that's always good.
So you mentioned coworkers, and I'm sure there's some place where people can enjoy one of these Halloween cocktails. Are you allowed to talk about where they can find you?
Yeah, Mama's Comfort Food and Cocktails in Los Alamitos.
Okay, now we will know where to find you around Halloween for these cocktails.
Everyone.
So, Erik, I mean, being a guinea pig as you are, have you, what is it about cocktails for you? Because people have and gravitate towards what they like, right? I mean, it could have been beer, it could have been wine, it could have been something, but you like and enjoy cocktails. What is it for you about cocktails?
So prior to experiencing a nice, well-balanced cocktail, I mean, my go-to drink was beer, craft beer. For the same reason that, I don't really like sweet stuff. Sugar stuff is not really my forte anymore. So my previous experience with cocktail was, your traditional Long Islands or your Adioses, all your sweet and, and sour stuff. That's really overbearing and gives you those, hangovers the next day when you regret, you drink so much. And so that was my experience. And by, being the guinea pig, like you said, for Alfonso's experiments, I learned that there's much more. There's so much more that's out there and so many variations that are actually good and enjoyable. So now I look for something that's nice and balanced, where you get a little bit of the sweetness, but also you get the peppery and the a little bit of the in our case the mezcal and agave that I really enjoy.
Yeah. So one thing we've learned, and I feel like Rich, you've probably learned as well, as you talk to everyone who makes spirits or I'm not gonna say beer and wine because although they are used in cocktails, I haven't had experience with it, but I know they do it. But in spirits, you don't want to mask the spirit in a cocktail. You still want to let it, be alive there. And I feel like it's hard, it's a challenge, but you got to know how to mix it and how to get that spirit to still be alive in the cocktail. So that's kind of like what the goal is now. That's what we look for. That's when we go to a bar, or restaurant, we look to be able to enjoy a cocktail where you can still taste the spirit, where we're not the type of person that goes like, oh, we don't want to taste the alcohol on this cocktail, so we want something sweet. If that was the case, we would drink juice. We're looking for a cocktail that's complex, that if it's on the menu and I look at the ingredients, I look at what's listed and it's intriguing enough to order it. And when I order it, I want to be able to find those flavors and try to figure out how they use it. Because sometimes restaurants list cocktails and the ingredients, and I'm wondering like, okay, how did they use it? And sometimes it's in a rim, sometimes in the simple syrup, sometimes it's like a soda water, special soda waters in infusion. So it's kind of like just trying to figure that out, and that's kind of what we look for when we go out for a drink, or when I'm trying to make a drink. That's kind of like we want to get those flavors in a nice, fun way into the cocktail.
Yeah, and Alfonso explains it to me all the time in a very easy way, and I think everybody can understand. It's just like cooking. Mm-hmm. When you cook, you use certain ingredients, and you want those ingredients to be part of your dish. And that's the same thing that we look for when we're drinking a cocktail.
To both of your points, that drives me and Dawn crazy when we go out for cocktails and you can't find the spirit or you can't find spirits. And one of the things that we'll always talk about is when somebody presents their vodka and they'll say it's odorless, it's tasteless. And that to me is not vodka. That to me is you just took a neutral grain spirit and you basically stripped out everything.
All those flavors.
And I don't know what it's supposed to be for, because if you have a really nice vodka and a nice craft cocktail and that vodka still has some personality or still shines in the cocktail, I think as a bartender, you've done that vodka the service that it really deserves.
Yes.
Like, for example, like every spirit has its own DNA, and you're not doing that. I feel like we can say that we know that if we have a bottle, for example, we know what went to behind making that bottle. Same for you, Rich. Whatever, everything you got back there, I'm sure you have like some sort of, sentimental thing towards it, that how hard there was work done to it. So you don't want to take that away from them and overshadow it with anything in a cocktail, because that does a disservice to the spirit. And so basically, now going back to how we started the podcast, all of this, we're
going to go everywhere. Yeah. We're going to talk over each other. It's just going to be a festival of discussion. That's what it's going to be.
So we basically, Erik and I got tired of talking to each other by ourselves.
Yes.
And we're like, you know what, let's just start a podcast and let's see if people listen. And originally the plan was a tequila podcast. There's already a podcast that does that called the Agave Social Club podcast by Doug Price, and he does a great job.
Yep. Yeah.
So we didn't want to get into his space, and we also didn't want to limit ourselves to just tequila. So we said cocktails and spirits. We could talk a lot. We could go anywhere with that. It's a much broader topic, and we started it. And I messaged a couple people if they wanted to be guests, and they were on. And before we know it, we're like 55, 60 episodes in with what we have saved right now. And we were at Tales of the Cocktail, meeting other podcasters like yourself, which right now we'll get into how you got started. And that's where we are.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a time where we were like, "Hey, are we going to get somebody this week? Are we going to be able to make the next episode?" And it's been a lot of support from a lot of people in the industry, and we're so thankful, because obviously without them and them wanting to talk to us about what they love doing as well and sharing with everybody else, we wouldn't be able to do this. And that's another reason why we decided to do the podcast. That's because we wanted to share what we loved, what we were doing with our friends. Because not all the time can we hang out with them or, we'll get together with them. So this is another way for them to also listen to what we're doing, and hopefully they enjoy as much as we do.
Pardon the interruption. Thank you so much for listening to Fermented Adventure, the podcast. Could you do us a favor? Hit that follow button. It makes it easier for others to find us, and it helps us climb in the rankings. Take a screenshot of the podcast, post it, tag us, and let everyone know that you listen to the Fermented Adventure podcast. Now, back to our podcast. Alfonso, you just said something that has me thinking now, that you both said, you just got tired of speaking to each other. I'm just wondering if Dawn got tired of talking to her about spirits and all the things that we do, distillery, cideries, meaderies, wineries as well. And she said, why don't you start a podcast? And I think now we're on to something. I'm going to have to ask her, is this the reason?
Let's put her on the spot.
Well, it's funny because I know you interviewed Matt Petrick as well, and I did too. And on my podcast, he said that his wife told him, "Honey, I love you, but you got to say all this to somebody else." So I think that's all of us.
Yeah, that was and I'm sure you found the same experience. Matt is so fascinating.
He is,
and I think that's what comes out of interviewing people as you do a podcast, right? Mm-hmm. You learn so much, and the more you learn, the more you want to know. With Matt, I mean, it became. Then we go to Latitude 29, and then I'm picking up Beach Bum Barry's book. And, now we're visiting tiki bars, and we're looking for more rum. And now we're going to talk tequila at some point, and it opens up even more of this wormhole that you go down. And it's so fascinating. And that's what I love about, like we talked about, we met at Tales. We didn't know we were going to be there at the same time. We ended up at this wonderful cocktail tasting event. And one thing leads to another. And it's just so much fun in this industry because like everybody is welcoming. I don't know too many people where you've talked, and Erik, you said, hey, are we going to have a guest for this week? Dawn and I face the same thing. Everybody's busy. But they always make accommodations in some way, shape, or form to sit down because they love and are passionate about talking about their craft and what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Rich, do tell us how, you have your podcast, Fermented Adventure. And we'd love to hear about how, that got started. And then have you been in the industry? You just basically about how you got into it.
Me personally, I was a chef. And I was an executive chef. I worked in restaurants. I worked behind in the kitchens. At the later end, I started working in restaurant management, but I never really got behind the bar, and I never really explored what we do until Dawn met each other. And it was a really hot day in June here. We were at a festival in an area in Philadelphia called Manayunk. It was an art festival. It was the beginning of our relationship. So we didn't really know each other very well. And, you start feeling people out, you like each other, you want to get to know each other better. And we're walking back to the car. And at the bottom of this hill, we see a sign, this A-frame sign. It says gin tastings with an arrow. And for those listeners that are from the Philadelphia area, Manayunk's a hilly place. And so we said, hey, do you want to go to do this? And it was back and forth. I don't know. I don't even like gin. I don't like gin either. We talk about the bad gin experiences we've had. And we still find ourselves walking up the hill. And the hill, it's literally a quarter of a mile. And by the time you're done, it feels like you hiked 3 miles up a hill. And we get to the top, and there's another sign that points another way to this.
Oh, no.
To this like mill style building, and Walter Palmer's Liberty Gin. That's what we discovered. And we opened the door, and there's this little small bar with 4, 5, 6 seats. And behind the bar is this really interesting looking character, Walter Palmer. And he was gracious, welcomed us in. We were like, he probably felt sorry for us because we were dripping in sweat and we were panting. And we finally get to the bar, and he pours us some of this. And still today, one of the most flavorful, complex, character-filled gins that we've ever had. And we left fans of gin. We left fans of craft gin. And the next weekend, we're like looking up distilleries to go to in the Philadelphia area. And that led to, going to cideries and going to meaderies and wineries and breweries. And at some point we decided to record or, put a social media page out. And then I guess to what you're saying, Dawn said, I'm tired of you talking to me about this. I'm talking to somebody else. What was fun is we met Walter at a recent 1-year anniversary at a distillery in Philadelphia. And we met him and his wife, and they're lovely people. And we got to tell him a story. And as much as I think we promote the story, I don't know if he's ever heard it before. So it was fun to rehash the conversation and our first time of going out. And then it's like, again, 4 years into the podcast, we show up at our first Tales. And to me, that was so overwhelming up to it. Mm-hmm. But it's still something that I keep reflecting back about and saying, I can't, Tales to me, and I'm curious about your experience. Tales to me is like a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. And you're in line, and it's a long line. And the line is what I would equate to, you have no idea what Tales is all about if you've never been. And you don't know, other than that big hill that you see on the roller coaster, what the rest of it really looks like. And
Yeah.
you're getting these invitations to go to parties and tastings and events. And you get to the front of the line, and then you have to make a decision. Well, do I want to sit in the front of the roller coaster or the back of the roller coaster? And to me, that was deciding what events to go to, getting the lay of the land as far as where the stuff is. And you get on this wild ride. And by the time you're halfway through, you're like, I'm never doing this again. And then you get off and you start walking around the amusement park and you go, do you want to do that ride again? They want to do that coaster? That was a lot of fun. And that's, I think, where we're at with Tales. We want to go back. We can't wait to redo it for next year. But during it and in like 5 days, I don't know how long you guys were there. 5 days.
Monday through 3 full days and 2 half days.
Okay.
So got there Monday midday, left Friday midday.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. It's I mean, you hear, if you're in the industry, you hear how big Tales is. And I mean, you can only imagine. And then when you get there, you're like, I didn't imagine big enough. Because it's humongous. It's humongous. And then same, I remember when I was telling Lucy, I'm so excited, we're like, oh, well, how do you get invited to these parties? And then speaking to you, I'm sure you talked to them as well, Hunter and who else? Hunter from Tales of the Cocktail, and they were like,
and the entourage. I mean, there was so many
Hunter,
people in the entourage.
There was a lot, and they're like, oh, they'll, they have your email address as media, and they'll start coming in. And we remember the one came in, which was the Kraken party, the boat party. And then that came in, and then little by little more started coming in. And then there was a moment where 2 weeks before there was like 10 coming in per day, 15 coming in, and it was just never ending. And then we're like, it was hard to keep up. At first I'm like, okay, well, we have this one, little note reminder. And then I'm like, well, we're booked for 5 already this day. What are we going to do? Then I create a little spreadsheet.
We did the same thing.
Yeah.
Like Dawn and I are like trying to create spreadsheets. We're trying to figure out where we're supposed to be when. Yeah. And then you have like interviews you set up at the same time.
Yeah.
But it's crazy, right?
Yeah. But it's also I feel like they do a great job organizing it. And I feel like the only hard thing was as a first time is you have no idea what it's like. Now going into next year is like, I know what to expect. I know how it works. I know how far things are, and you just have a much better idea to attack it. And you could tell there's some people there that, it's not their first time and they know how to take care of it. It's really all you can drink as much as you want to drink. And so it's like, you got to be careful.
Like you said, it's about having that game plan and executing it the right way.
What I really enjoyed was hearing about some of these events, tastings, parties that I did not see an invitation for, and feeling like, wow, I wish I would have known about that one. And then running into people and saying, oh, just check out the Eventbrite app and you can sign up. After we did the Terramana event, we did the White Claw event, and that just came out of somebody saying, just sign up for it on Eventbrite. And it was at the hotel basically next door. And, it's 2 days, it's pool parties. I mean, how bad can that be?
That's true.
I learned a lot, and we experienced a lot, and we met a lot of really interesting, cool people, and seeing what these distillers and these companies are doing. Tony Gonzalez, he was a guest of our last podcast, which has aired yesterday, Ghost Ice System. And as a bartender, ice and what he's doing and transforming the industry with ice and his other items that he's doing. But these are the things, these are the conversations. It's so much fun and so interesting for people like us that are fascinated by all these industry people that are working hard and doing it every day too.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that's super cool is like, you think about the industry, and you get there and you meet someone that's doing something and you had no idea about, like, how much can be done with ice, how much can be done with certain spirits, or just all the different bars around the world are pretty awesome. It's just really exciting, and to be in the industry and know that there's so many options. And, you know, for example, this is my career. I am a bartender. I have a mobile bartending business, and you know, this is somewhat of a hobby, but doing all this has opened up a lot of opportunities in the industry, which sometimes a lot of people don't realize how big of an industry it is and how many opportunities there is for bartenders or even for, you know, reps. Like there's just an enormous amount of opportunity in all of this. And it was pretty cool to see it all put together at Tales of the Cocktail.
See, this is what I was saying. We don't know where this is really going to go because, hey, I'm a bartender. And then you just say, oh, I also have a mobile bartending business. Erik, you're down there. You're holding up your shirt, talking about the logo, the brandware you're breaking out a bottle. We're enjoying some of this tequila. I don't know. You guys started. I started. I couldn't wait.
I've been drinking it. I've been drinking it.
So this is Valor.
Yeah, Valor
I'm
Tequila.
Sorry. See, that's my South Philadelphia. That's my New Jersey, Philadelphia accent. We say Valor. Valor.
Yeah. Valor Tequila.
Valor Tequila.
It's I work for them, so that's fun.
One of those doors that opened up.
One of those doors that opened up based on everything. And you know, right now we're trying to take advantage of it, you know. Erik is coming on board too, and we're, you know, Erik is in the industry, but he's like coming onto the industry based on this, you know, hobby that we've started. And we're just learning and meeting a lot of people, you know, and not only that, like meeting people and, you know, drinking obviously is fun, but I think it's just never ending learning experience on so many different topics. And that's what's really cool.
Yeah. And on top of that, it's not really much of, I don't see it much as a worker or anything, just because I enjoy it as much as, you know, I like sharing it with everybody else. I like learning more about it so I can just keep that knowledge growing, you know, and as much people as I can share it with, I feel like there's more awareness in the industry and what I'm doing or what we're doing in general, because again, I feel like there's still a lot of people out there that don't know anything about a good cocktail or a good spirit.
I think when they learn, and I have always discussed this and it really resonates with me, the more you learn about a cocktail of spirit, the more you appreciate it. If you learn the history of a cocktail, if you go to a distillery, to me, it's so much more of a connection than going into a liquor store and pulling a bottle off a bar or the shelf and saying, hey, did I get a good deal on this? If you've not been to the distillery or you've not been to where this is produced, you won't have the same connection. It's like, I've not been to Valor. Am I still saying that right? Did I get that right?
That's good. It's good. Yeah.
That's good.
You're good.
I've not been to this distillery, but here's my connection. My connection is the both of you. My connection is you cracking open a bottle of this while we're at this event, at this luncheon tasting event. And my first experience was, this is unlike any tequila I've enjoyed before. It's different. And now I re-experience it. And one of the things I keep getting on the nose, and I'm curious if you get this, like hot buttered movie theater popcorn.
Yeah, I see it.
Do you ever get that?
I get the buttery. I got exactly what you mean.
I mean, it's driving me nuts because I feel like there should be a movie right now.
I see that, man.
This crunchy flavor to it, but it's a wonderful buttery nose. You get the minerality of the tequila. You do get that. I get a melon from the agave. I do get that that juiciness on the nose and the flavor. One of the things I finish with each time, and again, your experience as far as what you enjoy from this, there's this brininess that this finishes with. And it's almost like you feel like it's the end of the day. You've been out and enjoying summer, and then you get to enjoy that wonderful ocean breeze, but it's filling your mouth. And that's what I really enjoy.
And that's part of their open air fermentation process that they had, where you get that fruitiness that you get.
Yeah, and then this is one of the reasons why I like, like tasting from other people that it's different to give it to taste to people that, might not drink tequila, but they also might not have experience drinking spirits, right? Like if you have experience sipping spirits, even beer, wine, you can appreciate that you're gonna find nuances and different flavors. And your description was like top notch, man. That was really enjoyable to listen to. That was awesome. That description that you gave about the hot butter, like or popcorn from. I mean, it was like as soon as you said it, and I smelled it, I'm like, oh my god, that it's right there. And so that was amazing. That was really cool. I really, it was a great review, and I'm gonna, when I get this recording, I'm gonna send it to the owner because she's gonna be delighted about it, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is one of the wonderful things about just sipping, enjoying, and talking. Like, there's so much that still comes out of this. There's a wonderful butterscotch to it, almost like a rum quality. I love the viscosity on this because it sits on the mouth, and you get a lot of the spices. Almost like an herbaceous spice, like a ginger is back there, a thyme is in there, but it like I said, there's so many layers to this tequila, and it's still unlike anything I've had before. And kudos to whoever is working real hard to make this happen.
Yeah, and those spices are very mellow too. They're not very much overbearing like some other ones, and that's one of the things I enjoy too. And I feel this is a well balanced tequila where you get a little bit of everything that they're doing in the process, and it speaks really well to their work out there.
Yeah, one thing we're gonna do, Rich, is how much tequila have you sipped before?
I mean, on terms of gallons, I mean,
how into tequila are you right now? Like at your home bar, and
you know what's really interesting? It's funny because I think with what we do, we run in cycles. And I say that because last February, we were at CiderCon in Chicago. So we found ourselves for the next, and we love cider, but we found ourselves drinking a lot of cider. Then we have MeadCon, so we're drinking a lot of mead. And then we go to BarCon in Brooklyn, so we're drinking all kinds of spirits. So where I would tell you is we've got like, it's not just tequila. It's Rebel Spirits. It's the Avila. And I wish I wasn't blanking on that. I wish I had the bottle somewhere that I can. Cardenche. Cardenche, which is not an agave. It's not a mezcal. It's its own thing. It comes from its own plant. So it's not just tequila, but these wonderful Mexican spirits, the terroir, the provenance, things that are coming from it. But I will tell you, tequila is something I'm still everything rum, tequila, vodka, bourbon. We're all still learning. I'm never going to say I've had enough or I know enough.
I feel like one of the cool things, and I tell Erik, I enjoy as much as we love, mezcal and tequila. I prefer to have not prefer because it's going to sound bad. I love our guests that are agave based, because they're amazing and they're, it's easier to talk to because we understand the spirit. But some of our favorite episodes are when we have no idea what it is, because we're just going to be learning, and it's all just new knowledge, and it's excitement to try whatever they're talking about. And that's like right now you mentioned a couple things, spirits that, I'm not familiar with. And I'm sure Erik might not be familiar with them either. No. But, if we had a chance to try them, we would, we'd love to. And, I'm sure we would enjoy it as well.
I already wrote it down here in my notes so I can look it up later.
Yeah.
What's that, Erik?
I already wrote it down here in my notes so I can look it up later.
All right. Cardenche makes us so tall, and I wanted to clarify that. And again,
okay, cool.
Yep. And to your point, I love mezcal. There's not anything I can honestly say that I wouldn't try and have not enjoyed, that I wouldn't go back and continue to learn about and discover.
Yeah, and I was going to say within a couple of weeks while we get organized, we're going to send you a nice lineup of samples of different tequilas to try, so we could take you through like a tasting, a tasting of all the different nuances and distilleries and aging expressions. It'll be cool.
You can threaten me. I don't mind. I don't care. What we'll do is this will become Cocktails and Spirits podcast and Fermented Adventure.
Yeah.
This could become an ongoing series where we just keep sending each other stuff back and forth. We've got a wonderful rye whiskey heritage here with Maryland, New York, Pennsylvania, and some of the producers in Kentucky are in Tennessee, Indiana, building out some great rye programs. But hey, we'll send you out some rye. You send us tequila. Who knows what's going to end up coming those samples in a box. It'll be fun.
We won't complain, right, Erik?
Not at all. Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Erik.
I feel like in my experience from just, tasting different types of spirits, that there truly is one spirit in each type of a line, whether if it's bourbon, whiskey, tequila, cognac, gin, vodka. There is something for every person. It's just a matter of finding it, because although I feel like some people try whiskey for the first time, or tequila for the first time, or mezcal for the first time, like, oh no, it's not for me. Maybe that bottle wasn't just for you. You just have to find the right tequila or the right whiskey or the right gin to open up your palate, to open up those flavors that you're missing out on, because there is something for everybody. And that's one thing that I like about sharing. And I tell this to Alfonso all the time. My favorite thing when I share with friends and family is I can see that one person in that corner was like, whoa, what is this? This is amazing. And all that right there, that experience there just makes it so worth me sharing with everybody else.
So with the Valor and what they're doing, are they producing any barrel finishes right now? Are there other expressions, or is the one that you've shared with me the one expression right now?
So right now, the only one on the market is the Blanco, but we just had an event with them and we did try the Reposado. That one is coming this fall. So they are, and there is some añejo barreled, and it just needs a couple more months for it to hit that añejo mark, which is 12 months and above, 12 months to up to 3 years, but usually 12 months. And then that's going to come out in sometime next year. So they are working on it, but right now, just the Blanco.
Yeah, and if you like that buttery flavor on this one, just wait till you try the Reposado.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm going to sit patiently waiting. I'll be here. You talk about, look, this is something you believe in, you're passionate about, you've connected with. How did the relationship with Valor come to be?
We were on a trip. We were on our last trip to Tequila, and we were at the distillery where they make it, which is called Casa Atanasio. They make another tequila called Atanasio. And we're just chatting, and they said, there's a new brand coming out soon. Here's they snuck out the name because nothing had been revealed. They're like, because we're good. We've been visited them a couple of times. I hung out with them over here when they visited. So they're like, oh, Valor. And then
don't tell nobody.
Don't tell nobody. And then I looked up they had an Instagram. I was easily able to trace who the owner was. And then one thing that I had been waiting was the right opportunity. Like, I want to get into the industry as a rep. I want to, as much as I like bartending, the goal is to eventually not bartend anymore, either just be a bar manager, bar director somewhere, and have my mobile bartending, and hopefully work with a brand, or, just work with a brand, because that could be a whole career in its own. Regardless, but I can't apply somewhere as a full-time. I have to find a small brand that's coming up, and hopefully they bring me on as a part-time role. And I just I send emails. What's the worst that can happen? They say no, or they ignore it. And it's just going to be my ego that gets hurt, maybe. But I sent out a message to her, and, she liked it. It went well. Christiana, and here we are. She told me, I'd love to have you on. A couple months later, and I'm part of the team. It's finally out, and we're just working to try and bring it into new places, new retailers, new restaurants, and that's part of the job. It's fun.
All right, so you got mobile bartending, bartender.
I do too much, man.
You've got to talk about this clothing line. I mean, what's going on with the clothing line?
Go ahead, Erik.
So we had just visited Tequila for the second time. And it actually was there during that time where we found out about Valor. So we came back to the States and we were talking about, all the stuff that we brought in, all the bottles that we brought in, and, how much trouble it took for us to get through customs.
So it's three of us. It's Erik and another friend, Saul, and he's on Instagram, but he doesn't even care to make a post. He is anti-social. I just have it to keep up, and that's it. So, so three of us got together that night, and then what happened?
Yeah, so we're talking about, and we actually ended up buying some T-shirts from some of the distilleries that we had there, and we were like, wait, I go, isn't it funny that unless you actually visit these distilleries, like there's no presence out here in the States. You can't go to a website or a place to buy these T-shirts. And we're like, well, what if we started our own brand that's based off agave? And what if we start this brand in hopes that we can collaborate with some of these brands in the future, but and that's kind of where that started. And then the idea started rolling, and one thing that's another, just like same thing like the podcast, and just like the sampling tequila and cocktails with Alfonso, it just ended up lining up to what we were doing, and it just took off, and we got support from a lot of people, and it's been a great journey, and it's been exciting. And so far we're getting ready to do our second launch now that we're also excited about. We're bringing out 5 more new designs, and it's just been a crazy adventure.
Yeah, you can't give me.
How do people find the shirts so they can order? Is there an online presence?
Yeah, we have an Instagram, and it's Agave Threads Co. And then right there is the link to the website, agavethreadsco.com. But yeah, it just I can't get an idea. That's the problem with me. I have issues. I can't get an idea. And if it sounds good and I do a little research and it checks out, it's a done deal. Like, and I'm very proactive. I know I'm annoying. I know I've annoyed Erik probably with multiple text messages, and Saul as well.
Not at all, man.
But I have fun with it. They have fun with it. And then the end result is pretty awesome. We have 10 designs. We launched the first 5 designs on the first launch, and now they're printing our full 10 designs that we had right off the bat. We have one mezcal brand that they liked our stuff, and we're making T-shirts for them. We have another mezcal brand that hopefully we'll get that rolling soon, and that's the goal, to be able to make. Because there's so many passionate, just like we're passionate about it. There's a lot of passionate fans of the industry, the agave, tequila, mezcal industry, that would love to be able to wear a shirt. Each design somehow represents part of the industry. I don't know which one Erik has on right now, but I
have the burro.
You want to turn around? Maybe Rich can see it real quick. Let me see it. But so
cool.
So sometimes
a burro, it's a burro.
Yeah. So sometimes it's hard to get into the agave fields to bring back those agaves from the field. So they use burros, donkeys, to bring back those agaves. So they're very important towards the industry. And we thought it'd be cool to put on a T-shirt, and it's a great T-shirt. People like it. And we will say we have a high quality T-shirt, so we want to put out a great product, and I feel like that's what we've done, and we're just gonna continue to do it as much as we can to, it's cool. It's nice to see people wear your shirts.
Yeah, and that's another form of us expressing what we love to do, and we want to share with everybody. Mm-hmm. And it shows in our designs and in our logo and everything that we're gonna bring out.
What I'm like, we met Alfonso and Erik. This is just we make friends everywhere. I mean, this is so much fun just to be able to introduce what you're doing and have, the Fermented Adventure listeners learn, but, even the listeners of your podcast who may not know the full story or may have missed some of the details of the story, they get to learn more about the both of you. And it becomes an even deeper connection. And what happens is we're not strangers now, we're friends. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's we're connected by this love of somebody taking the time to harvest something and ferment something and distill something and put it in a bottle. So the three of us can just be present and enjoy it. And
sure.
I don't know, it just, to me, sometimes I feel like, wow, this is a life experience, and I'm blessed and I'm grateful for it. I really am.
Yeah, absolutely. It is
For sure.
pretty cool how something like, something a lot of people just see as a party thing, alcohol, or as a night to go get drunk, which whatever, to each their own.
Right.
But we see it as something else, as a connection, like a connection to those making it, a connection to those who you're drinking with, and a connection to those who you want to share what you've learned. Like Erik said, there's nothing he enjoys more than sharing and being able to see the reaction. And it's just about getting them to connect, and then they're open-minded. And then you got another friend that, is on board, and you're talking together about it. And I feel like that's how any hobby and every hobby starts. And that's how there's so many groups of certain niche things. And for us, it just happens to be, in this case, almost anything alcohol.
Yeah, and I can tell you how many people tell me that, they hate meeting me and me introducing them to tequila and to mezcal.
Because it's expensive.
to whiskey and bourbon, yeah.
It does become costly. And every time Dawn and I talk about we go somewhere and I say, look, I'm not buying anything, but now I just I purchased some more shelving wood. So now I've got some more space. We're running out of space, but I'll keep making space because, again, you find these gems, and you want to take home that experience, or you want to recreate and enjoy that experience again. And we talk about this is what we enjoy. This is our hobby. This is what we do. This is fun. And I'm sure there are quite a few listeners that have these wonderful collections that they look at and say, I remember when I first had this, or I remember who I shared this with. And I remember when I went there, like when you talk about going to this distillery and meeting the distillers and they're saying, we have this new line, it's not out yet. And wow, that's just one of a kind, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You just make that connection and you remember, I guess in a way it's biased based on your experience. But most of the time, it's such a great experience that, I don't know how to say it, but sometimes, but it's just a wonderful experience that you're able to connect with those making it or those who you're sharing with, that it makes it fun.
I mean, and it's kind of hard not to have a good experience because you're going there for a specific reason, because you're already interested into that distillery or that spirit. So unless you're being dragged there, I don't see a way that it cannot be a great experience unless something really bad happens there.
I wish someone would drag me right. I wish someone would drag me right now to Distillery. That'd be great.
Well, anytime you want another group of people to join you when you're down in Tequila and you're doing your experience, that would be fun to link up as well.
Yeah, man. We try to go once a year.
Okay.
And a lot of people tell us, let us know next time. And some people are like, they just say that. But this next time we go, we will tell people. And if they want to hop on, it's gonna we always have a good time, and we know that anyone that would go would have a good time as well.
It's always a benefit to have somebody that gives you a little bit of that back door, that back of the house kind of a thing, right? Mm-hmm. That the hidden, like, I know this place like the back of my hand kind of thing, where you're saving time and you're getting to the best stuff. Mm-hmm. Kind of like, eating the filling out of the Oreo, if that's something you do, right?
Yeah.
So is there anything we haven't talked about today on this? This is, well, the time has flown by.
So it has flown by. Yeah.
It has.
Unlike Dave. Not much, we just all the Fermented Adventure listeners, if you want to add another podcast to, most podcasters have a ton of podcasts on their library. But if you want to, take another one on, come check us out in Cocktails and Spirits. And then likewise, I'll tell our listeners from Cocktail and Spirits, check out Fermented Adventure. Check out some of his episodes, which are awesome as well. And now you got another podcast. So now you don't have to wait. What days do you release?
Tuesdays.
See, you listen to us on Monday,
Okay.
You listen to his Tuesday. Now you got Monday, Tuesday covered.
Now you guys are awesome, and your perspective, your take on things, it's enjoyable, and I learn, and but now we get to do this together, and this is even this is exceeded my expectations. It has.
Say, man, it's been a ton of fun, and like you said, it'd be cool to do it. Often, like a little series of we could send each other things, or just
it'd be cool.
Just talk of what we're doing and I'm sure within the time frame each of us will have learned something new that we want to share.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Again, well, this is like, hey, we ended the recording, but we're going to talk some more. And no, I think it'll be fun to like share some things that don't tell what it is, and then we can talk about the history or talk about whatever it is as we taste through it. I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Down, count us in.
Yep.
Well, for the both of you, Alfonso and Erik, thanks for being a friend of Fermented Adventure. And for those listeners of Cocktails and Spirits podcast, thanks for being new friends. This is just, like I said, this has been a treat. Now I'm going to go talk to Zieroff, and we'll talk to each other again soon.
Sounds good, Rich. Thank you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and it was a pleasure. Also knowing your adventure and your journey into this rabbit hole with us.
And you're 4 years in, man. That's awesome. We hope to be 4 years in as well. So props to you. That's awesome, and hopefully 4 more.
Cheers to you, your time, and just the experiences we get to have every day.
Likewise. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.